Texas and cannabis have had a rough relationship for the last century. For many years, Texas was one of the main highways for illegal cannabis to make its way across the border from Mexico and into the US. Perhaps this is why there's such a harsh taste for cannabis amongst law enforcement in the state. Texas is the second largest state in America, and it's known for doing all things big. But what Texas isn't famous for is cannabis. The state of Texas has the potential to grow enough cannabis to supply the entire US should the federal government ever loosen its grips. Texas passed legislation for its medical cannabis program way back in 2015, and it's been incredibly slow to expand it ever since. As of now, Texas only allows few qualifying conditions and very low THC content for cannabis products. And by low, I mean very low. Products cannot have more than 0.5% THC content, which at that point is basically CBD. And while CBD is great in its own right, THC is just as important in helping treat certain conditions. Luckily, there might be hope on the horizon for Texans. This year, Texas lawmakers have introduced a few new bills with the hope that they will expand the state's restrictive medical cannabis program and make changes to the many legal consequences. House Bill 1535 will increase THC limits to 5% and expand the list of qualifying conditions to include all forms of PTSD, chronic pain, and all types of cancer. House Bill 441 would decriminalize simple possession. Right now, getting caught with 2 ounces of cannabis or less is a Class B misdemeanor that comes with a hefty fine and some jail time. This new bill would reduce those penalties to a Class C misdemeanor with no jail time. It would also prevent law enforcement from making arrests for possession that's under an ounce and help pave the way for criminal expungement. House Bill 99 will prevent driver's license suspensions because of cannabis and replace jail time with a fine. And here's a fun fact. The author of HB 99 is Representative Steve Toth, who actually does not support cannabis legalization or decriminalization. However, he acknowledges that there's a dire need to address the racial disparity of cannabis arrests in the state. In the past, Texas introduced legislation to expand its medical program, but it ultimately failed. The difference this time around is the bipartisan support. If and when these bills are signed into law, it would mean huge things for Texas patients. It would mean that even more patients will be allowed legal access to alternative medicine and do away with the state's notoriously rigid and harsh penalties when it comes to cannabis. It's exciting to see even the most draconian states finally coming around to cannabis legalization. So cross your fingers and stay tuned as we see what unravels for the state of Texas. Thanks for watching.